So good morning to one and all. So today we are going to talk about the abstraction from the precipitation. So precipitation is the input to the catchment and abstraction is the loss from the catchment. Okay. So abstraction of precipitation generally it is called the rainfall losses. So generally it is called rainfall losses. What is the rainfall losses? So there is the loss from the precipitation in the form of interceptional loss. Interceptional loss will be there. Second one is evaporation. Evaporation means what? Evaporation from the water body. Okay. Third one is we are talking about the transpiration, and fourth we are talking about the evapotranspiration, and fifth one it is called the major loss from the precipitation. That one is called as infiltration. Okay. So first one we are going to talk about the interceptional loss. So interceptional loss is the part of the rain which actually loss to the atmosphere without being collected in the ground. So that part of the rain which actually intercepted by the tall object like tree, building, and without being collected in the ground, the part of the precipitation is directly gone to the atmosphere. That part of the loss is called as interceptional loss, and the magnitude of the interceptional loss is very high at the initial period of the time. At the time will be increases, so the loss will decreases. So this is the rain which occurring onto a tall object like this is called tree, and the part of the rain which actually will not being collected in the ground and directly will be lost to the atmosphere, that is called as interceptional loss. And there is another is called throwfall. Okay, throwfall means the part of the rain which has been flow through the branch of the tree, that is called throwfall. And the storm flow is called, that is the part of the rain which has been moved or flow through the storm part of the tree. Okay, so interceptional loss is the part of the rain which actually not been collected to the ground, directly it will be lost to the atmosphere. That is called as interceptional loss. So interceptional loss at t will be equal to 0. Initial time it will be very high. Okay, that is the maximum interceptional loss, and as the time increases it will decreases exponentially it will decreases as the time will be increases. So the thing which actually I am talking about the part of the rain. So the part of the rain which actually intercepted by the tall object, such as building, tree lying on the ground, and the part of the rain which is intercepted will directly evaporates to the atmosphere. The rain which evaporates from the surface of these such tall objects without being collected on the ground called interceptional loss. Okay, so the part of the rain is not directly collected in the ground, so it is evaporates from that tall object directly to the atmosphere. That is called as interceptional loss. So next we are going to talk about the evaporation. So evaporation actually, so evaporation is the process by which water actually changes its phase to the vaporized stage. So evaporation essentially it is the process by which water straight from the liquid it will change to the vapor and finally it will escape to the atmosphere. So that is the process. Evaporation, it is a process by which water changes its state from the liquid to the vapor and finally it will escape to the atmosphere as a water vapor. Okay, that is called evaporation, and essential evaporation is called a cooling process. Okay, so this is the water body. This is the water body in which the heat is coming from the sun. It is actually coming from the sun, and if you talk about this water molecules or water particle, actually it is attracted by the cohesive forces of the surrounding molecules. But if you talk about the water particle, second water particle which is present in the surface of the water body, so there is a imbalanced force, better we can say there is a imbalanced force, with net force is not equal to 0 here. So that mean balance force is acting downward, and as the heat increases, the entropy of that molecule will gradually increases, and finally it will vaporized and it will be placed in this to the atmosphere. Finally it will vaporize and it is gone to the atmosphere. So there is infinite number of the water molecule which present on the surface of the water's body, and it will finally it will evaporate and it will go to the atmosphere. So there will be thin layer, there will thin layer of is called, which is called as saturated air mass. Saturated air mass will be formed, and the pressure exerted by the saturated air mass or saturated vapor molecules of the water, that is called PS. Okay, that is called saturated vapor pressure, and the atmospheric pressure is called as PA. Okay, so this evaporation process and the rate of evaporation, how it is related to the saturated vapor pressure, how it is related to the atmospheric pressure. So it is actually governed, and it will actually given by Dalton's law. Okay, Dalton's law. So Dalton's law of evaporation is talking about, so the rate of evaporation is directly proportional to the difference of the saturated vapor pressure and atmospheric pressure. Okay, so evaporation will start essentially when the saturated vapor pressure is greater than atmospheric pressure. When the saturated vapor pressure is greater than atmospheric pressure, then the saturated air mass will be moved in upward direction. Okay, that is called evaporation. So the rate of evaporation is directly proportional to difference in saturated vapor pressure and atmospheric pressure. So if you remove the proportionality constant, that is called rate of evaporation will be equal to K into PS minus PA. So K is a evaporation constant. So what are the various factors that will affect this evaporation process? So first one is called as solar radiation. Solar radiation means the intensity of the radiation which is coming from the sun. Okay, so the rate of evaporation is directly proportional to the solar radiation, intensity of the solar radiation. As the intensity of the solar radiation will increases, so that the rate of evaporation will increases. So as the intensity of the solar radiation will decreases, so the rate of evaporation will decreases. Now second factor which affect the evaporation is called temperature. So temperature actually there will have a relation in between saturated vapor pressure and temperature. So if the temperature will increases, the saturated vapor pressure exerted by the vapor molecules of the water increases gradually or linearly, we can better say. So as the temperature increases, so it is written, so as the temperature increases, the saturated vapor pressure will increases. So according to Dalton's law, we know that E is directly proportional to PS minus this is PA. So as the PS will increases for a constant atmospheric pressure, so the rate of evaporation will also increases. So that this difference is increases, PS minus PA will increases, so I can say the rate of evaporation will increases. So as the temperature will decreases, what will happen? The saturated vapor pressure will decreases, and the difference in saturated vapor pressure and atmospheric pressure will decreases, so the rate of evaporation will decrease. So if the temperature will increase, we can say better the rate of evaporation will increases. So the next factor which affect the evaporation is called the wind. So wind will affect, how it will affect the vapor, the rate of evaporation. So it is saying if the velocity of the wind increases, then the rate of evaporation will increases. Okay, so if the wind speed will increases, then what is saying, the rate of evaporation will increases. As the wind speed will decreases, the rate of evaporation is decreases. Okay, so I can say, so the rate of evaporation actually it will gradually increases, and for a critical velocity, suppose I am taking velocity in this direction, okay, and the rate of evaporation is taking in this direction. So at a maximum velocity, so I can say that one is called a critical velocity of the wind. So there will be maximum rate of evaporation. So this is called the critical velocity at which there is a maximum rate of evaporation. After that, rate of evaporation will remain constant. Okay, so the vapor layers, the saturated vapor layers which exist at some distance from the surface of the water body. So if the wind velocity will increases, so it will wind, or it will take that saturated vapor pressure, and the velocity will gradually increases. Okay, so after that it will take some time to again it will come to this vaporized film. Okay, so that is I am talking about. So suppose this is my water surface, so here is some water vapor will be there. So as the wind speed increases, so it will flow away this vaporized water vapor. So that is will happen, when it will remove the complete thickness of this water vapor, when the velocity will be become equal to critical velocity. Okay, so that is the thing. Next, pressure. So if the atmospheric pressure increases, then the rate of evaporation will increase. According to Dalton's law is what? The rate of evaporation is directly proportional to the difference in saturated vapor pressure minus atmospheric pressure. So as the atmospheric pressure increases, so the evaporation rate will decreases. So there is a inverse relationship. Similarly, if the atmospheric pressure decreases, then the rate of evaporation will increases. Atmospheric pressure is a function of what? Atmospheric pressure is a function of rho g h. So h decreases means altitude. If you go to the higher altitude, then the pressure will decreases. Then humidity. Humidity is, as the humidity or moisture content in the atmosphere increases, then what will happen? The evaporation will decreases. Similarly, if the humidity will decreases, then evaporation rate also will increases. Surface area of the water body. So this is suppose one water body, okay, in which suppose this is the water. If the surface area of the water body will increases, then the rate of evaporation also will increases. Since the surface area of the water body will decreases, then the rate of evaporation will decreases. Okay, then the seventh factor is very important. So we should understand depth, how the rate of evaporation is related to the depth of the water body. So actually evaporation is inversely proportional to depth. So if the depth of the water body is increasing, so that depth, the evaporation rate will be decreases. But we have to take two cases. First one, we should understand what will happen for shallow water body. For shallow water body, so the atmospheric temperature and the water body temperature will become equal. Okay, there is no difference. Okay, the surrounding temperature and the water body temperature will become equal. So as the surrounding temperature increases, basically it will increases in the period of the summer. It will, the temperature of the surrounding temperature is very high, so the water body temperature will be very high. So as a result, what will happen? Evaporation is more in the case of summer, when the water body is a shallow water body, and in winter the evaporation is less. But if you talk about the deep water body, what will happen when the this spring or this summer is starting? So what will happen? The heat is gradually gradually coming from the sun, and it will heat the water body. Okay, so what will happen? As in the case of deep water body, some part of the heat will be this is the deep water body. What will happen? So this is the gradual heat is coming from the sun. Okay, so some part of the heat will be stored in this deep water body. Okay, some part of the heat will be stored in the water body. But when the winter will come, this stored heat will be liberated from this water body, and in the winter the rate of evaporation will be more in the case of the deep water body, because temperature gradient will be formed, because surrounding temperature will be less and the water body temperature will be high, because the heat will be stored in that case. As a result, in winter case the heat in the case of water body will be more, so evaporation will occur from the water body in the case of winter. So for the case of deep water body, you have to remember summer evaporation is less. Okay, summer evaporation is less and winter evaporation is more. In winter the heat is liberated from the water body, so there is a difference in temperature will be in the water body and the surrounding temperature, ambient temperature. So what will happen? In the case of winter, the evaporation will be more. So now let's talk about the how quality of the water will affect the rate of evaporation. So the quality of the water means, suppose two water body will be there. So this is the first water body and this is the second water body. Okay, this is the first water body, this is the second water body, and they are exposed to same climatic condition. You have to remember, they are exposed to same climatic condition. Then what will happen? Suppose this one is called, first one is called fresh water body, and this one is called saline water body. Okay, so in the case of saline water body, the evaporation will decreases as compared to the fresh water body. In fresh water body, evaporation will be more as compared to saline water, and saline water evaporation will be less as compared to the fresh water. So that is talking about the fresh water body, evaporation is more, okay, and saline water body evaporation is less. So that is basically one thumb rule is there. So so if you increase 1% saline in saline water, if increase 1% saline water, then there is a decrease in 1% of the evaporation loss. Okay, so there is talking about the 2 to 3% less evaporation in saline water as compared to the fresh water. Okay, so now we talk about the evaporation, but how we can estimate the evaporation? Okay, you need to estimate the we have to measure the evaporation loss. Okay, so because why it is required to measure the evaporation loss? Because in future, which reservoir we are going to plan, that reservoir there, if the evaporation will be less. Suppose this is a reservoir. Okay, this is a large area reservoir will be there, large area reservoir. Suppose very small depth of water is actually evaporated, rate of evaporation will be actually experienced in millimeter per day. Depth of evaporation will be very less, but as the reservoir area will, the reservoir surface area will be very huge, very large. So if you talk about the volume of water will be evaporated, that is area, surface area of the reservoir into depth of the water which is be evaporated. So as the surface area of the reservoir will be very high, so basically there is a very huge loss from the one particular reservoir. So if there is a huge loss from the reservoir, so we cannot use that stored water in an effective way. So as much as the loss will be minimum, it is good, or it is good for us. So how we can minimize the evaporation, that are going to look in next slides. Okay, so better first how we can measure the, or how we can estimate the evaporation. So basically there is four step by which you can measure or estimate the evaporation. First one, we can use the evaporimeters, that is called pen measurement of the evaporation. We have to install some pen nearer to the reservoir, and we can simulate the pen evaporation with this reservoir evaporation or lake evaporation. Then we can find out from this pen evaporation what will be going to the actual evaporation in the water body. Second step to measure the or estimate the evaporation is called empirical formula. There is some empirical formula are available by which you can directly calculate the amount of the evaporation from a water body. Third is called, there is water budget equation. This water budget equation is very important. So water budget method, actually it is based on the conservation of the mass. You remember, this is based on the conservation of mass. Okay, so last method is called energy balance method. So the amount of energy which is coming from the sun, and how much amount of energy actually required for the evaporation. So there is an amount of energy, conservation of energy, you can better say. So amount of energy in will be equal to amount of energy out. So from that, how we can estimate the evaporation. Let's talk about the first, that is called pen measurement of the evaporation. So pen is what? Pen is basically a container, okay, that is to some standard dimension, and which actually installed adjacent to the water body. So pen is a container up to some standard dimension, and actually it is installed adjacent to the water body and filled with water to a stipulated level. There is a mark will be there. We have to fill the water, and with respect to time, we have to measure the how much depth of the water will be lost, or how much depth of the water will be lost to the atmosphere. That is basically called as evaporation. Okay, so over a period of time, normally the period time you take the 24 hour, the change in water level will be observed. or the change in water level in the pen which installed nearer to the water body is noticed and measured. Okay, so but basically you can say in the 24-hour period of the time we have to measure the difference in the water level. Okay, that is called actually how much water actually evaporated. So knowing the pen evaporation, actual evaporation from the near water body can be estimated. Okay, so knowing the we have to simulate pen evaporation to the water body evaporation by using some coefficient of pen. So what is pen evaporation? Pen evaporation will be equal to, so the amount of the rainfall and plus minus or z. Z is what? Depth of water is added to the pen or removed from the pen. So if z you have to plus positive sign, means that is amount of water will be added. Okay, if you put z will be minus, that is called amount of the water will be removed. Okay, amount of the water will be removed. So pen evaporation can be calculated, that is amount of rainfall plus or minus z. Plus is amount of water will be added if you do, and negative will be when you will do the amount of the water will be that is removed from the pen to bring the water to the stipulated level. Okay, so next the actual evaporation from the water body, I told you we can find out by multiplying a coefficient of the pen. So actual evaporation from the water body we can find out by multiplying coefficient of the pen with pen evaporation. Okay, so after calculating the actual evaporation, the volume of the water loss due to evaporation we can calculate. So volume of the water loss due to evaporation from the water body, we can calculate the actual evaporation into the surface area. Okay, so this is the surface area. Suppose you can see this surface area and how much depth of the water has been removed. Suppose this is the y. So how much volume? This is A into y. Actual evaporation, that is measured in millimeter per day. Okay, into this is surface area of the water body is area. So that is actually volume of the water loss due to evaporation from the water body. We can find out actual evaporation into surface area of the water body. Now we shall talk about what are the different types of pens used to estimate the evaporation, used to measure the evaporation. What are the different type of pens? Okay, so there are basically 4 types of pens are there by which we can measure the or estimate the evaporation from the water body. So first one is called US Weather Bureau Class A pen. So this is US Weather Bureau Class A pen, and second one is called Indian Standard Class A pen, that is basically used in our India. Okay, so in India we are using the Indian Standard Class A pen. Third one is called Colorado Sunkins pen. So this is actually this pen actually kept out at some depth from the ground level, and the water actually kept at the surface of the ground level. Okay, so later we will talk about. Then last one is called USGS floating pen. So USGS floating pen, generally these are actually kept in this water body itself, and this will simulate directly what is the rate of evaporation from the water body. In spite of we will install this pen adjacent to the water body, this pen are actually kept on the water body. They will kept in the form of, they are actually floating. They actually float on the water body, and the depth of the water will be evaporated, that will be calculated from this floating pen. So first one is called US Weather Bureau Class A pen. So basically you have to remember the coefficient of pen used in this pen. So US Weather Bureau Class pen, the coefficient pen we are using, that is 0.70. Similarly Indian Standard Class A pen, that is a hexagonal wear mesh we are using, and the coefficient of pen in Indian Standard Class A pen we are using, that is 0.8. And this is Colorado Sunken pen. So this is Colorado Sunken pen, and this pen actually kept at some depth from the ground level. This is the ground level, and that is actually fixed at some depth below the ground level, and the water actually kept at the surface of the ground level. Okay, water is kept at the surface of the ground level. Then we can estimate the change in level with respect to time. So this is Colorado Sunken pen. So the coefficient of the pen, generally it is taken as 0.78. Then USGS floating pan, I talk you, this floating pan generally actually put in the standing water itself, and we can simulate the actual evaporation from the water body by finding out the change in depth from this pan. So this is actually placed in standing water, and the coefficient of pan actually it is similar to the Indian standard pan, that is called 0.8. Next, we are using some empirical formula to estimate the evaporation. So first one, this Fitzgerald's equation. So rate of evaporation we can find out. Rate of evaporation find out is 0.4 plus 0.124 into B, PS minus PA. So this is expressed in millimeter per day. So how much depth of water will be evaporated per day, and this B is called wind speed in kilometer per hour. So you have to place this wind speed as per the unit is mentioned, that is you have to place in kilometer per hour. And PA I already mentioned, this is called saturated vapor pressure, and PA is called actual vapor pressure. Actual vapor pressure, that is expressed in depth of mercury. Okay, depth of mercury it is expressed. So next equation is called Mayer's equation, that is very important. So the rate of evaporation it is expressed here millimeter per month, that is the above one is called Fitzgerald's equation, in which the rate of evaporation expressed in millimeter per day. But Mayer's equation, the rate of evaporation is expressed in millimeter per month. Okay, and this C is called as Mayer constant. Another term will be as it is, I already told you in the first equation. Third equation is called Coarse equation, and here the rate of evaporation actually expressed in millimeter per day, and this is the formula you have to, I think don't require to remember. Okay, that is a very big formula. So here the things term will be as it is. So third equation is very important, actually, that is water budget method. So water budget method will be what? How much actually input to a particular reservoir, how much will be output from that reservoir, and what is the change in storage in the reservoir. Suppose this is a reservoir. So this is a reservoir. Okay, this is a reservoir, and there is some input. Input will be, there will be some runoff from the catchment to this reservoir. This is the input, and there will be some precipitation, rainfall as an input to this reservoir. Okay, and there is the, what is the output are there? Some water will be used from this reservoir basically for irrigation, or we can say for water, this hydroelectric power plant. So some water will be used from this reservoir, and some water will be used, or some water will be lost to the atmosphere through the evaporation process, and some water will be lost during through the seepage process. Okay, so this is the actually basically we can say this is the output. There is input, this is output. So now we have to, this is the original reservoir level. Now if the output will be less and input will be more, there will be change in storage will be more. If the output will be more, input will be less, there will be change in storage will be less, because the depth will be full. And if the output will be less, input will be more, the surface level of the reservoir will be increases. So now basically this is the equation by you have to remember. So this is change in this is the input minus output will be equal to change in storage. What is the input? I told you, this is the runoff from the catchment to this reservoir, and this is the precipitation from the atmosphere to this reservoir, and the output are, this is some water will be used. Okay, this is the evaporation loss to the atmosphere, and this is the seepage loss from the reservoir. It will be equal to change in storage. So change in storage will be what will happen? The positive sign of the change in storage will happen when there is a water level increases. Water level increases. So negative sign of the change in storage means what will happen? The water level will be decreases. Okay. So this increases means what will happen? The input is more than output. Here level decreases means what? Output is more than input. Okay. So this del S is basically this called a change in storage. So change in storage. So last method, last one, this one is called as energy balance method. So this is basically called, we can call this is a conservation of energy. So the amount of energy which is coming from the sun, this is called radiation energy, or the radiation energy which is coming from the sun, that is the input to the reservoir for the evaporation process, and the output of the energy, that is sum of the energy actually lost to the atmosphere, that is called sensible heat loss to the atmosphere. So this is the basic equation. Energy in minus energy out will be equal to 0, and the energy will be this radiation energy minus the what is the output energy, what is the loss from the this input energy, that is sum of the energy will be lost to the atmosphere, and some of the energy will be that is absorbed by the ground, and some of the energy used in the evaporation process. So R is the incoming solar radiation, and HA is the sensible heat lost to the atmosphere, and Hg is the ground heat. Some of the ground will be absorbed, some of the energy, and He is called, that is the energy used in the evaporation process. Okay, so there is some of the energy actually lost to the atmosphere, some of the energy used in the evaporation process. This is the radiation energy coming from the sun, and some of the heat energy will be absorbed by the ground. Okay, so these are the basically, this is also you can say input minus output. Okay, so now the energy which used for the evaporation process, that is actually rho W into L into E. What is rho W? That is called mass density of the water. Mass density of the water is this is kg per meter cube, and L is called latent heat of vaporization, in that is joule per kg. Okay, latent heat of vaporization. And E is called, that is called rate of evaporation in meter per second. Okay, in meter per second. So now if you put all this formula, He will be what? He will be R minus HA plus C. So this amount of heat will be required in evaporation process will be equal to radiation energy minus this sensible heat lost to the atmosphere, and the amount of heat will be absorbed by the ground. So Ag I can put this is rho W into L into E will be equal to R minus HA plus Hg. So what is E? The evaporation rate we can find out, this is R minus HA plus Hg by rho W into L, and HA and this sensible heat lost to the atmosphere and amount of heat will be absorbed to the ground, that is very small, the magnitude is very small, so we can neglect that one. So the we can, if you rewrite this formula, so this rate of evaporation, that is expressed in meter per second. So the rate of evaporation meter per second, that is R divided by this is rho W into L. So this is the formula you have to remember. Okay, so that is written. So HA and Hg are so small, so they can also neglected. They can neglect. We can neglect that one. Okay, now we have to talk about how we can control the evaporation. Okay, what are the methods are there so that we can control the evaporation. So basically there is 4 or 5 methods are there by which you can control the evaporation, rate of evaporation. First, we can use the mechanical covers. So we can use some mechanical covers on the surface of the reservoir, so that we can minimize or can reduce the amount of evaporation from the water body. Second, we can use some surface plot. Surface plot that if you put, that can actually reduce the expose of the surface. If you use some surface plot, so it will minimize the exposed surface area of the reservoir. So as the exposed surface area will be reduced, so you can say the evaporation rate will be decreases. Using some surface active chemical, that is very important. So you have to use some surface active chemicals. First one is called cetyl alcohol, that is hexadecanol is called, and second one is called stearide alcohol, that is called octadecanol. So these are actually used, or you can say these are actually called as evaporation inhibitor, or that evaporation suppressor. This chemical actually form a thin film on the surface of the water body. It will form a thin film on the surface of the water body, and it will minimize the evaporation rate of evaporation loss from the water body. So you have to remember these two names, cetyl alcohol and stearide alcohol. Cetyl alcohol is called hexadecanol and stearide alcohol is called octadecanol. And fourth is called, we have to design the better reservoir planning. Okay, better reservoir planning means that reservoir area surface area should be minimized. Okay, so the reservoir surface area will be minimized so that we can minimize the rate of evaporation. The fifth one is called it is better reservoir operation. Okay, so the better reservoir operation means we can use the water from this reservoir in effective way, so that evaporation can also be minimized. The last one is called planting trees around the water body. So if you plant some tree around the water body, so what will happen, it will block the wind speed. As the wind speed will be blocked, or there is called wind breakers, so what will happen, the rate of evaporation will be decreases. So these are the some methods by which we can reduce the evaporation rate from the water body. So in next class we are going to talk about the what are the actually transpiration, what is called transpiration, and how we can measure the transpiration. Transpiration is what? Transpiration is, this is the basically you can say the water used by the plant during the photosynthesis process. Okay, so how we can measure the amount of water consumed during the transpiration process. Okay, so that is phytometer is called one instrument, or that is used to measure the transpiration. And what is called evapotranspiration. Okay, how we can measure the evapotranspiration. And later on we will talk about the infiltration, that is called measure loss from the precipitation. Okay, so next class we are going to see about this topic, and maybe we can solve some the numerical from the evaporation topic. So thank you, have a good day. So if you like my video, please like and subscribe this channel, so that you will get more video notification later on. So thank you, have a good day.